Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is David Novak. This is the latest in a series of videos in which I give poetry readings. If I think of it, I will put links in the description box to the previous installments. The most recent poet whose work I read, I believe, was Thomas Hardy. There may have been two videos for him. The next logical poet for me to read, I feel, would have been Gerard Manley Hopkins, but I have felt a little hesitancy about that. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because his poetry seems a little too irregular for me at this time. I don't know. That's not meant as a disparagement. I dearly love the poetry of Gerard Manley Hopkins. I didn't know that this series would resume, but one of my viewers, P. Krabs, mentioned in a comment that I should do a reading of Emily Dickinson, and that set very well with me. As I film this, it is March 17th, 2025, St. Patrick's Day, but we're not going Irish today. And I think it can pretty safely said that as far as the world goes today, the Constitution of my country, the United States of America, has effectively been revoked. I think that in theory it could be brought back from the abyss, or from just over the abyss, if you will, but I don't believe that such a reclamation is likely to occur with our Constitution. It lasted a good 249 years, so I don't know if that's a record, but it was a pretty good haul. Unfortunately, a substantial portion of our population has decided that so strongly do they detest the idea of certain of the poorest among us having rights that they decided they wanted to do away with rights altogether, and so they have done, so it has come to pass. I remember years ago, I had a friend who committed a crime in a foreign country and was sentenced to some prison time. And at one point during the course of the arrest, said something to the effect, "I know my rights." And the person she was talking to said, "No, you don't have rights here. You have those back home." Well, now we do not have those back home. But one has to acknowledge that the 249 years of constitutional democracy are themselves something of an anomaly. So now we are just sort of back to routine humanity, I would say. For a while, some people aspired to something higher, and at times it felt like the nation was on the verge of achieving it. And so now that phase is done. I brought out Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. to share this evening with me, though I will not be reading from either man. I consider those two the best that our nation has produced, and now the lid is sort of closed upon that story. But it occurred to me, and this is a new thought, I've never had it before, that if poetry has any sort of function in these times, it may well be the simple and basic one of continuity. So while forms of government change, while regimes change, and so forth, while the language persists, its poetry persists. And so, for that reason, I believe that Emily Dickinson is a perfect author to share as part of this reading series tonight. It will be posted tomorrow. Now, as with the reading of Thomas Hardy, I just sort of went through the book and started picking out poems. So you can see I'm at the first, third. I go up to about 200 something, and I believe there's almost 700 pages. So possibly I will do further readings. I should say that I don't read a lot of poetry. Much of this I probably have not read in 40 years. And I did not really rehearse this. I think that my readings of Hardy would have been helped out had I rehearsed more. In this case, I count on the strength of the poems themselves to pull me through somewhat of a cold reading. Of course, some of these poems I know pretty darned well, but a lot of them I just had piqued my fancy while I was going through. So hers are fairly short, so even though they are numerous or will be numerous for this reading, I don't believe it should drag on. This is number 2. There is another sky, ever serene and fair, and there is another sunshine, though it be darkness there. Never mind faded forests, Austen, never mind silent fields. Here is a little forest, whose leaf is evergreen. Here is a brighter garden, where not a frost has been. In its unfading flowers, I hear the bright bee hum. Prithee, my brother, into my garden come. This is number 21. We lose because we win. Gamblers, recollecting which, toss their dice again. Almost a haiku, eh? Number 33. If recollecting were forgetting, then I remember not. And if forgetting, recollecting, how near I had forgot. And if to miss were merry, and to mourn were gay, how very blithe the fingers that gathered this today. I'm not in every case sure which one I had picked out. Number 53. Taken from men this morning, carried by men today, met by the gods with banners, who marshaled her away. One little maid from playmates, one little mind from school. There must be guests in Eden, all the rooms are full. Far as the east from even, dim as the border star, courtiers quaint in kingdoms our departed are. I'll read the next one as well. If I should die, and you should live, and time should gurgle on, and morn should beam, and noon should burn, as it has usual done. If birds should build as early, and bees as bustling go, one might depart at option from enterprise below. 'Tis sweet to know that stocks will stand when we with daisies lie, that commerce will continue, and trades as briskly fly. It makes the parting tranquil, and keeps the soul serene, that gentlemen so sprightly conduct the pleasing scene. Number 67 is pretty famous, I think. Success is counted sweetest by those who ne'er succeed. To comprehend a nectar requires sorest need. Not one of all the purple host who took the flag today can tell the definition so clear of victory. As he defended, let me just start that one again. Number 67. Success is counted sweetest by those who ne'er succeed. To comprehend a nectar requires sorest need. Not one of all the purple host who took the flag today can tell the definition so clear of victory. As he defeated, dying, on whose forbidden ear the distant strains of triumph burst agonized and clear. I should say the only well-known poem which I passed by was the one, Hope is the Thing with Feathers, because it feels like it is so overused in popular culture. Number 77. I never hear the word escape without a quicker blood, a sudden expectation, a flying attitude. I never hear of prisons broad by soldiers battered down, but I tug childish at my bars, only to fail again. Number 87. A darting fear, a pomp, a tear, a waking on a morn, to find that what one waked for inhales the different dawn. And another famous one, number 89. Some things that fly there be, birds, ours, the bumblebee, of these no elegy. Some things that stay there be, grief, hills, eternity, nor this behooveth me. There are that resting rise. Can I expound the skies? How still the riddle lies. Number 108. Surgeons must be very careful when they take the knife. Underneath their fine incisions stirs the culprit, life. Number 125. For each ecstatic instant, we must an anguish pay in keen and quivering ratio to the ecstasy. For each beloved hour, sharp pittances of years, bitter contested farthings, and coffers heaped with tears. And the next one, 126. To fight aloud is very brave, but gallanter I know, who charge within the bosom the cavalry of woe, who win and nations do not see, who fall and none observe, whose dying eyes no country regards with patriot love. We trust in plumed procession, for such the angels go, rank after rank with even feet and uniforms of snow. The Constitution fails, but we continue. In spite of that segment of the population that did not want the poorest among us to have rights, yet I feel we have many good people in this country, and one can only hope that somehow this period is passed through, and even though the Constitution fades away, something may be created to fill that gap, to replace it, something more suitable to our times. This is the hope. Number 146. On such a night, or such a night, would anybody care if such a little figure slipped quiet from its chair? So quiet, oh how quiet, that nobody might know, but that the little figure rocked softer to and fro. On such a dawn, or such a dawn, would anybody sigh that such a little figure too sound asleep did lie, For chanticleer to wake it, or stirring house below, or giddy bird in orchard, or early task to do. There was a little figure plump for every little knoll, busy needles and spools of thread, and trudging feet from school. Playmates and holidays and nuts, and visions vast and small. Strange that the feet so precious charged should reach so small a goal. (181). I lost a world the other day. Has anybody found? You'll know it by the row of stars around its forehead bound. A rich man might not notice it, yet to my frugal eye, of more esteem than ducats. Oh, find it, sir, for me. And 185. Faith is a fine invention when gentlemen can see, but microscopes are prudent in an emergency. Well, I'll read 212. Least rivers, docile to some sea, my Caspian, thee. And then that most anthologized poem, number 214. I taste a liquor never brewed, from tankards scooped in pearl. Not all the vats upon the Rhine yield such an alcohol. Inebriate of air am I, and debauchee of dew, reeling through endless summer days from inns of molten blue. When landlords turn the drunken bee out of the foxglove's door, when butterflies renounce their drams, I shall but drink the more. Till seraphs swing their snowy hats, and saints to windows run, to see the little tippler leaning against the sun. (249). Wild nights, were I with thee, wild nights should be our luxury. Futile the winds to a heart in port, done with the compass, done with the chart. Rowing in Eden, ah, the sea, might I but more tonight in thee. Excuse me. Of course, you will know this one. 258. There's a certain slant of light, winter afternoons, that oppresses like the heft of cathedral tunes. Heavenly hurt it gives us, we can find no scar, but internal difference where the meanings are. None may teach it any, 'tis the seal despair, an imperial affliction sent us of the air. When it comes, the landscape listens, shadows hold their breath. When it goes, 'tis like the distance on the look of death. number 280. I felt a funeral in my brain, and mourners to and fro kept treading, treading, till it seemed that sense was breaking through. And when they all were seated, a service like a drum kept beating, beating, till I thought my mind was going numb. And then I heard them lift a box and creak across my soul with those same boots of lead again. Then space began to toll, as all the heavens were a bell, and being but an ear, and I and silence, some strange race, wrecked solitary here. And then a plank in reason broke, and I dropped down and down, and hit a world at every plunge, and finished knowing then. (288). I'm nobody. Who are you? Are you nobody too? Then there's a pair of us. Don't tell, they'd advertise, you know. How dreary to be somebody, how public like a frog, to tell one's name the livelong June to an admiring bog. Well, let's try 322. There came a day at summer's full, entirely for me. I thought that such were for the saints, where resurrections be. The sun, as common, went abroad, the flowers accustomed blew, as if no soul the solstice passed, that maketh all things new. The time was scarce profaned by speech. The symbol of a word was needless, as at sacrament the wardrobe of our Lord. Each was to each the sealed church, permitted to commune this time, lest we too awkward show at supper of the Lamb. The hours slid fast, as hours will, clutched tight by greedy hands. So faces on two decks look back, bound to opposing lands. And so, when all the time had leaked, without external sound, each bound the other's crucifix, we gave no other bond. Sufficient troth, that we shall rise, deposed at length the grave, to that new marriage justified through Calvaries of love. Not one that I know particularly well, but this next one I do. 324. Some keep the Sabbath going to church. I keep it staying at home, with a bobolink for a chorister and an orchard for a dome. Some keep the Sabbath in surplice. I just wear my wings. And instead of tolling the bell for church, our little sexton sings. God preaches a noted clergyman, and the sermon is never long. So instead of getting to heaven at last, I'm going all along. Well, let's try 327, shall we? Before I got my eye put out, I liked as well to see as other creatures that have eyes and know no other way. But were it told to me today that I might have the sky for mine, I tell you that my heart would split for size of me. The meadows mine, the mountains mine, all forests stintless stars, as much of noon as I could take between my finite eyes. The motions of the dipping birds, the morning's amber road, for mine to look at when I liked, the news would strike me dead. So safer guess, with just my soul upon the window pane, where other creatures put their eyes, incautious of the sun. .328. A bird came down the walk. He did not know I saw. He bit an angleworm in halves and ate the fellow raw. And then he drank a dew from a convenient grass, and then hopped sidewise. Let me start again. Can't always get it right. .328. A bird came down the walk. He did not know I saw. He bit an angleworm in halves and ate the fellow raw. And then he drank a dew from a convenient grass, and then hopped sidewise to the wall to let a beetle pass. He glanced with rapid eyes that hurried all around. They looked like frightened beads, I thought. He stirred his velvet head like one in danger, cautious. I offered him a crumb, and he unrolled his feathers and rowed him softer home. Then oars divide the ocean, to silver for a seam, or butterflies off banks of noon leap plashless as they swim. Number 384. No rack can torture me, my soul at liberty. Behind this mortal bone there knits a bolder one. You cannot prick with saw, nor pierce with scimitar. Two bodies therefore be, bind one, the other fly. The eagle of his nest no easier divest, and gain the sky, than mayest thou, except thyself may be thine enemy. Captivity is consciousness, so's liberty. We all could use some liberty right now. Let me backtrack to 383. Exhilaration is within. There can no outer wine so royally intoxicate as that diviner brand. The soul achieves herself to drink or set away for visitor or sacrament. 'Tis not of holiday to stimulate a man who hath the ample Rhine within his closet. Best you can exhale in offering. I wonder which one I had picked for this page. Well, I will just go with 389. Oh no, I think it was 387. Well, I'll do both of them. 387. The sweetest heresy received, that man and woman know each other's convert, though the faith accommodate but two. The churches are so frequent, the ritual so small, the grace so unavoidable, to fail is infidel. And this next one I know not at all. 389. There's been a death in the opposite house as lately as today. I know it by the numb look such houses have alway. The neighbors rustle in and out. The doctor drives away. A window opens like a pod, abrupt mechanically. Somebody flings a mattress out. The children hurry by. They wonder if it died on that I used to when a boy. The minister goes stiffly in, as if the house were his, and he owned all the mourners now, and little boys besides. And then the milliner and the man of the appalling trade, to take the measure of the house. There'll be that dark parade of tassels and of coaches soon. It's easy as a sign, the intuition of the news in just a country town. (406). Some work for immortality, the chiefer part for time. He compensates immediately, the former checks on fame. Slow gold, but everlasting, the bullion of today, contrasted with the currency of immortality. A beggar here and there is gifted to discern, beyond the broker's insight, one's money, one's the mine. (435). Much madness is divinest sense to a discerning eye. Much sense the starkest madness. 'Tis the majority in this as all prevail. Assent and you are sane. Demur, you're straightway dangerous and handled with a chain. I almost said demure there. Let me do it again. Much madness is divinest sense to a discerning eye. Much sense the starkest madness. 'Tis the majority in this as all prevail. Assent and you are sane. Demur, you're straightway dangerous and handled with a chain. Well, let me do the next, which also I don't know. 436. The wind tapped like a tired man, and like a host, "Come in," I boldly answered, and entered then my residence within, a rapid, footless guest, to offer whom a chair were as impossible as hand a sofa to the air. No bone had he to bind him, his speech was like the push of numerous hummingbirds at once from a superior bush. His countenance a billow, his fingers as he passed let go a music as of tunes blown tremulous in glass. He visited, still flitting, then like a timid man, again he tapped, 'twas flurriedly, and I became alone. (441). This is my letter to the world that never wrote to me, the simple news that nature told with tender majesty. Her message is committed to hands I cannot see. For love of her, sweet countrymen, judge tenderly of me. As I say, governments come and go, but poetry continues. And I think we do best to focus on the continuities. 444. It feels a shame to be alive when men so brave are dead. One envies the distinguished dust permitted such a head. The stone that tells defending whom this Spartan put away what little of him we possessed in pawn for liberty. The price is great, sublimely paid. Do we deserve a thing that lives like dollars must be? And that one, when I did go through it, and it's not that lives. So pardon me, I'll start again. 444. It feels a shame to be alive when men so brave are dead. One envies the distinguished dust permitted such a head. The stone that tells defending whom this Spartan put away what little of him we possessed in pawn for liberty. The price is great, sublimely paid. Do we deserve a thing that lives like dollars must be piled before we may obtain? Are we that weight sufficient worth that such enormous pearl as life dissolved be for us in battle's horrid bowl? It may be a renown to live. I think the man who die, those unsustained saviors, present divinity. That could be present divinity or present divinity. Well, 444 requires a bit more contemplation, I would say. How about 449? I died for beauty, but was scarce adjusted in the tomb, when one who died for truth was lain in an adjoining room. He questioned softly why I failed. For beauty, I replied, and I for truth, themself are one. We brethren are, he said. And so, as kinsmen met a night, we talked between the rooms until the moss had reached our lips and covered up our names. It would appear that there is one last. Oh, yeah. 465. I heard a fly buzz when I died. The stillness in the room was like the stillness in the air between the heaves of storm. The eyes around had wrung them dry, and breaths were gathering firm for that last onset when the king be witnessed in the room. I willed my keepsakes, signed away what portion of me be assignable, and then it was there interposed a fly, with blue, uncertain, stumbling buzz between the light and me. And then the windows failed, and then I could not see to see. And I think with that, I will leave off. I used the hardbound, which I seldom visit. Generally speaking, if I need some Dickinson, I go to the paperback, which I have had since a lad, but in consonance with the other set of readings I've been doing, using mostly these cherished hardbacks, I decided to go with this tonight. Thank you very much for stopping by my channel, and keep your eye out. There may be more.